That's what I would say. It's hard for young people now because they're hooked. They're addicted. If you don't think you're addicted, and I'm talking about anyone, from the highest to the lowest, if you don't think you're addicted, then see if you can turn it off for a week. It got quiet in here, didn't it? Didn't it get real quiet? It's a tool, so we should use it. God has blessed us with free will. Now it's free will magnified, free will on steroids. You're free to go in any direction you want. It will allow you, and it's not the enemy. It's just it's just a reflection of our own free will. You know? And we all want to be liked, but now we want to be liked by 16 million. And will now some of us do anything to be liked? We used to do anything to be liked, but it was by the person in front of you. Now it's to be liked by 16 million people that you don't know. We have to ask ourselves, what is the long-term, if not the short-term effect of too much information?
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Culture to Christ podcast. Thank you guys for joining us today. We have a great episode for you guys. We are getting deeper into Aaron's world. If you listen to Uncut Gems, Aaron went through a bit of a gambling addiction. You guys can tune into that episode, which will help you in this further discussion Aaron and I are going to have. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Subscribe on the Apple Podcasts. Leave a review and comment to us. We're going to do a Q&A episode eventually soon. So you guys leave the questions that you have, things that you're not certain about. Eventually we will answer them for you in a Q&A episode. Also check us out on Spotify. Aaron, what's going on, my man?
Big Game 7 tonight, Raptors-Celtics, coming up in a couple hours.
Yeah, it's going to be big.
What do you think?
I'm thinking I was actually thinking on the car right here and how we talked about your gambling addiction in big games, and imagine the certain things you didn't go through, like how amped you'd be to put some money down on this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I'd be prepping,
You'd be prepping, you'd be looking at the stats and stuff, and where do you think you would be? So say God never intervened into your life. You didn't go through those trials, those traumas. Say, you never had those testimonies. Where do you think you'd be right now in this Game 7 with the Raptors? Who you'd be around? Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, even like a couple of the tennis matches I've been watching on US Open, I always think man, if I was still gambling, and I'd be lying if I said I don't get tempted to put money on it, but then I always just think about the opposite. If I lose this game, I know I'm going to start chasing and then it begins again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for sure, I think tonight, if I was still in that mode, I would be going Raptors.
You pick the Raptors?
Yeah, I think I'd go Raptors.
And how much money do you think you'd put on the game?
It all depends on, there's so many factors into how much money I put on games, because it was either, am I on a losing week or am I up? If I'm up, it's different than when you're down. And that controls, for me, it controls my amounts. Because let's say if I'm chasing too, then I'd have to, sometimes those games where it's just I just want to make it all back in one game, and that can get crazy, right? But yeah, it can be anywhere from, a couple thousand to, maybe 50, maybe 60, 70, 100.
Praise
never
God.
knows.
Praise God, you don't have to do that anymore. You can actually go enjoy the game.
And that's the thing. Now when I watch a game, because my brother was the first one to tell me, he's like, imagine being able to watch a game and not care who wins or loses. And I could never feel that before. Or else I'd be like, why am I even watching this game? I can't enjoy it. But now, I watch games and it's so much relief not having money on games, because you can actually just chill.
And you enjoy the little things. Like last night's game of the Dallas Stars.
Exactly.
You actually appreciate the little things in the game, because now you and I still play hockey. We see the little things. That's man, how beautiful is that?
And even the big moments, I can celebrate on both sides. Before, if a big play happened against a team that that I'm putting money on, I'm like, fuck that. It makes you hate players. It literally makes you hate teams and hate players. Yeah. Because you think that this guy just costed you your whole bet, and it's you have no impact on the game. So I always thank God that I'm out of that life.
Yeah, and I understand that as well, because I was so into hockey, coming from a hockey family. That was my worshiping. That was my religion. Hockey was my religion, so I used to watch games with so much emotions. I wasn't even gambling, because oh, I just love this team so much. They want to win the cup. Like my emotion was a roller coaster,
So you were emotionally invested.
emotionally invested, and maybe even spiritually too, where it gets to a point where like, you worship players, like they're your gods. And now I watch the games, and I'm like, I just enjoy watching the game, the systems, the guys who work hard, and I'm like, oh, I know I get to go play hockey. I'll enjoy my games, but no longer that's like an addiction.
Yeah, I always tell people that they ask me about getting into sports gambling or when they talk to me about it, and I tell them, I say, it's not a matter of when you'll lose. It's not a matter of if you'll lose. It's a matter of when you'll lose. And I'm talking about losing it all.
Mm-hmm.
So like it can get to that point. Like you and I have a mutual friend, and look what happened. He had to get into his student loans and shit, start taking money out of there. So it's always better to catch it before it gets too far.
Before you break you so far down where sometimes you feel like there's no way out. And some of you guys listening and girls might have been at that point. And going from that, we talked about how in Uncut Gems, when God gave you that idea, when you're at sleep, you're praying, you're working on that conversation, you wanted to really, get out of that, get out of the addiction, get out of the anxiety, get out of the demons in you that were holding you back from pursuing something meaningful. And your first idea came. And that's when you started growing into your business. So let's start there. And what was that process like when you started making your first shirt and then starting your business?
So basically when I got that vision from God, all right, about the first box logo of the This Is Not Supreme. So when that came to me, because it was so clear, like I just knew, original Supreme box logo, white shirt, red box, like that's just a classic. And I knew me putting on that slogan, right, was going to attract not only the crowd of people who love spending like a lot of money on Supreme box logos, because I told you some of them, they go for like thousands, it can go anywhere from, 500 to some people pay 10,000 for a t-shirt. So I knew I would attract that crowd. And then I would also attract the people who can't afford to be spending that type of money on a t-shirt. So my whole game plan there was let's just start with 100 shirts, and then I'm just going to use my social media platform to put it out with just a normal release and see how it goes. Like I never had a vision of this is going to be something I'm going to be doing for the next year, 2 years, 3 years. It was never like that. It was like, let's just see how this thing goes. And, if people mess with it, I'll do another one. And then just, snowballs.
And what gave you the idea to keep it at 100? Because you said you started on social media. It used to be Facebook forums, and then you slowly transitioned in university because Instagram came out. Did you know that 100 shirts was the way to market it? Did you find out from? I'm sure people are curious about why the number 100.
I think that 100 to me just felt like a good number, not only for the amount of followers that I had at the time, but just in general. Like, everyone says, keep it 100, like the 100 emoji. I remember I always used to use that emoji. Like praying hands, I still use that one, but praying hands and then 100. Everyone used that emoji.
Keep it 100.
Yeah. Even the guy I was telling you about, like Virgil, he had every time like he released shirts with Bintrill, he'd have the 100 emoji. So it was like, and I knew that I didn't want to make it something like, I didn't want to have like 500 shirts, especially for my first drop where it's like everyone has it. I wanted to keep it still limited so that it would still feel special. Because like I said, like I wasn't going to charge like crazy prices for it. It was just going to be, $40. So like everyone, as many people that could afford it could buy it.
That was something that was meaningful to you at the time. Like you wanted to make sure that people that looked up to you reached out to you. You wanted to make sure that they could afford your shirt. Was that also like something that was a business sales tactic, or more like something you cared about because these people like looked up to you in terms of the hype beast culture?
Well, I always wanted to make it affordable from the jump. So, like, because I know a lot of people who follow me, they don't come from wealthy, they don't have wealthy parents, or they're not well off. And I just saw the trend of like a lot of people who, would comment on my pics or would, DM me. They would ask me like, are you selling any of the stuff that you don't wear anymore? Or like, do you know where I can find this for cheaper? Because the prices, like even back then, the prices for stuff were crazy. But fast forward to today, it's way crazier. Like the stuff that like the amount of pressure kids have to put on their parents or have to put on themselves to keep up with the trends, right? It's like every week there's a new release. And I just didn't want to be that guy who's like saying, yo, I want 100 or 200 for my t-shirt, when I know that a lot of these kids, they don't have money for that. So I'd rather just make it affordable, make it limited, so it still feels, people still feel happy that I was able to get it, because I never wanted to put something out that everybody has. That's just not like in my nobody. Well, I can't say nobody, but in my world, people, they don't like to have stuff that everyone has, or else they would just be shopping at what's like Hollister or like one of these stores where it doesn't matter about limited. So I understand that mentality, because I still have it today. I myself, I'll be honest, I don't like wearing stuff that everyone has. I don't like, it's you like to be unique. And if you're a tastemaker, or if you're into the hype beast world or the culture street fashion, you like to, kind of set yourself apart from others. And the funny thing about that is, once you make stuff that's so limited, what does everyone go for? They go for that limited type of look and those type of brands. So you're actually not standing out, because that everyone's buying the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't at that place where I'm at now, right? Now I look at things differently. Now it's like I don't have to dress up as much as I did before, because I don't feel the need to impress people like I did before.
And is that what you feel the kids that were following you, that were reaching out to you, that's how they think or were currently thinking? They didn't come from the place of privilege. They looked up to hypebeast culture, things that were out of their grasp, out of their reach. Is that big for certain people in their lifestyle, because they don't have much, that just getting that shirt or wearing this brand kind of validates them or makes them feel maybe popular around their friends, a less chance of maybe being bullied, etc.? Like, can you relate to them in that sense? Do you see why they love it so much?
For sure that exists, but there's also two sides like to the spectrum, because I know people who, they have all the money, their parents are well off, and they give them allowances, and they let them spend recklessly on stuff that that culture puts emphasis on. But there's also kids, and there's also people who work hard and really grind for the stuff that that they want. So it's a mixture of that. I can't just say everyone who buys into the hypebeast culture comes from a privileged background, because it's wrong. There's people that worked like me and Champs that save paycheck to paycheck to buy like the cool shit that celebrities have, or that people that you look up to that they wear. And the funny thing about that though is there's a lot of people too that they don't really care about the culture, but because they see someone else have it, right? They'd be like, okay, if I buy this or something, this is gonna impress that crowd. Maybe I can kind of get in. So those people exist too, right? Like I know you, Alex, you don't care about clothing, but when I show you like cool shit, like when I show you like some cool Nike shoes, like you fuck like you're
Yep.
like, yo, you can appreciate it.
I do.
And I know you don't look at it from the perspective or lens that I do or other people do, but you can still appreciate a nice running shoe, like stuff like that.
I'll be honest. My connection with hypebeast fashion streetwear is from our conversations, right? That's why we get along, because we come from two different worlds. So our conversations are always back and forth. We teach each other different things because we come from two different worlds. So you'll show me these shoes. I'm like, oh, these look cool. Like, okay. And I try them. I'm like, man, these feel really good. Now I understand why these people are spending this money. Like, I feel great. I walk around. I'm like, dang, I'm walking on clouds right now. Right. Then people tell you they look good. You're like, oh, okay. Like, that's really cool. Like, I was more like that younger. And then as I age, right, like different life experiences, different traumas, I kind of didn't care too much about materials as much. And it didn't fire me up. Like, it wasn't something that was like meaningful to me. But yeah, I'm starting to get more understanding of it even with our conversations. And you touched on a good point there, leading into the video we played in the beginning of the episode of social media and people looking at what people like, and they just want to fit in. Whatever people are wearing, whatever's cool, will follow into that. Now, when you were running your business in social media, Instagram, did you feel yourself that you're growing your business, things are doing well, but you're also getting caught in the social media warp stream of just that life, that focus? You isolated yourself. How was that experience in growing your business? You were selling 100 shirts at a time, and you started growing from there. So touch on that experience and how you saw yourself changing.
So I think I can talk about it from a perspective of what did I like the things I was valuing at that time, because if I wasn't as into like fashion and the culture as I was uh at the height of of my releases and releasing the things, people wouldn't respect where my like the brand aura. They wouldn't respect my opinion towards certain things. The way I put different outfits together. Like a lot of people, they followed my page because they were seeing like how I would put outfits together. Like these pieces that they would get, they wanted to see like how I would it's one thing to buy something, it's another thing to make it look fresh. So people would always come to my page and like I'd put an outfit on and it would be different than like how other people would wear it. So I still had to cater to that crowd when I was running my business. So like even if when I would release a shirt or when I would promote a shirt, I would still rock it with with stuff that's not from my own brand, with other shit that I know people like, that's rare to get, that's expensive, like anything. Like I would just know like how I would wear it, and if people fuck with it, then they like it, right? And then the second part of that is you talked about you said people around me, like how did that change?
Like the influences of you got on social media, you're doing the fit pics.
Yeah.
And you talked to me about your fit pics, and did you feel it was still natural for you though, because you're like you told us in the previous episode of Uncut Gems, you loved apparel, fashion, hypebeast stuff, things that nobody can get, you'd get first. It was still pretty natural for you to match different items together for your fit pics.
Yeah.
And your circle in the influences around you on social media, you're grinding on your business, you're focused. I think you're isolated in that sense where you're just focusing on your business, your consumers, your customers, but the circle around you, how did that start to change in your life? The people you started associating with based on the hypebeast culture, the clout, the chasing, etc.
So for sure, as soon as like when my brand was booming, like because I was doing everything myself, my weekends were totally gone. I did Saturday releases. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it was used for packaging, shipping, labeling, all that stuff. And until like you see like the volume of like what I was doing, it's crazy. Like I showed you, right? And it's like I basically I didn't go out for at least like months like for sure like a year of just cause I did what 80 straight weekends of releases.
So what was your routine like from week to week, like Monday to Sunday? How did you structure your releases? Because you said you're releasing on Saturday.
Yeah.
What was that like? Okay, Monday I have to do this. Tuesday I'm doing this. Wednesday I have a day
so
off.
So the best way to explain that, we'll talk about the schedule from releasing to outwards. So Saturday you do a release, right? Saturday, Sunday is minimum like you're folding all the shirts, you're packaging it up, and then Monday comes around, you're doing your shipping Monday, Tuesday, because I always prioritize getting out orders quickly for people, because I didn't want to be one of those brands that releases something and I leave my customers waiting for months. So some brands do that. They take everyone's money and they just string them along. You don't get your stuff. So I was like, if I plan to do weekly releases every Saturday, my people have to be getting their stuff between Tuesday and Friday. So when my release comes Saturday, you got your shirt. Because who wants to be that guy? It's like, okay, now I'm buying another release, but I still haven't even got my first one.
And
so it's like I have to be on top of that. So Monday, Tuesday, shipping, and then Wednesday was, I told you, Wednesday was like my day where it's like, I could relax a little bit, like, go play hockey, just like have my own free time.
You wanted to get a release. You were putting in. I think that's why some people might be confused. They think it's so easy to do it on your own. Like you're successful, but the work is all on you 24/7.
Dude, it's crazy. Like every time when my friends would ask, like they'd be like, "Yo, like come out, let's go out this weekend, or let's go here and there." And like I literally told them I can't. Like I'm packaging right now. It's like this is like I don't have time to go out.
You're doing it all by yourself. There's no one helping you with that.
There's nobody. And like I knew that because I was coming out of the gambling, I knew that God blessed you with this, Aaron. So focus in on it. Like don't get distracted now. Like grind. build like how fortunate am I to be in this situation I am, where it's like everything I'm putting out is taking off, right? And so yeah, so then Wednesday, my own free time, but then Thursday, Friday, it's either I'm getting ready for my next release, for picking up the shirts, you got to promote it, you do fit pics, all that.
You're
And
running the
then-
whole business. Like you're running every avenue, marketing, packaging, promoting,
Everything.
doing your own fit picks. Like you're grinding 24/7. And it's interesting to me because you got out of something that was so draining and destroying you. Like you were so like, I don't want to go back.
And the crazy thing is, like, some people listening to this right now, they might just think like how it can't be that hard to run, to run a t-shirt business, but you've seen the numbers behind it, so like the magnitude of like how many units I was actually moving.
Mm-hmm.
So like I like, especially for one person to be doing all that, like, it's crazy. I still look back and like, I don't know how, because people, I know companies that they do like less than half of what I was doing, and they have a team of people.
And that's
So,
what
yeah.
it goes to show what God can do in your life when you add him into the equation. He can keep you when you're tired. Okay, I'm going to still do this though, because you got me out of this, God. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to the anxiety, the sleepless nights, the
Depression.
depression, the anger, resentment, the bitterness, the inability to talk to people about your struggles. You have to lie or hide and stuff like that. You're like, yo, God gave me this gift. Like, I'm helping people. Like, you're focusing on people too, which, like, you show the value, you care about people. Like, you knew what it was like to reach out to guys. You said you used to look up to guys in fashion that would never, reach back to you. You're like, yo, you inspire me. Let's have a conversation. Like, those guys wouldn't. You knew, like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to reach the people that actually like my shit, and I'm going to value those customers. So it goes to show, like, when you're successful, it's because you care about people as well. And that's what I've learned from you. It's like it wasn't just like, yeah, I'm chilling. I just have this release and I'm just chilling. It's like I'm working 24/7. If I don't work, there's nothing to be done. Like, nothing does happen. And going from that, the business was growing so fast and so successful. Did you start to feel like, even though it was going so well, you're becoming very drained? Or you started to lead into other avenues that was maybe hurting you? Like you said, Wednesday was hockey. You want to get that release. You want to you're stressful, you're grinding 24/7. What were some of the things that you started to fall into to kind of deal with it?
So basically, like, the success of my brand was so big, right? And, like, I've never seen money like that before. Because even though I was betting huge on games, right? I never had consistent money coming in like how I did until I did my brand, right? So, but the thing is, because I was always working, like, I didn't have, like I told you, I didn't go out on weekends. So I was thinking to myself, like, yo, what am I grinding for? Like, I got to the point where, after probably 5,000 orders, right? I was just like, I was getting drained, and I needed to find ways where, like, I could, not just get burnt out, because like doing everything by yourself, it's very tiring. And my only real release, or I could say hobby outside of it, was just playing hockey, like at the rink. And there's only so many times you could do that, where it's not enough, right? So then after that, I'm just like, yo, like, I looked at myself, yo, I'm so successful now. Like, my brand is so successful, where, now when people start to invite me out to, to strip clubs, to rub and tugs, to different things, I was like, yeah, like, I'm going to go. Like, I deserve to do this because I earned it. Like, look at all these things you grinded for, where it's like, now it's like, I should be able to party and to relax. And then like, I looked at it too as, I needed to be able to have fun and still work hard and try to find that balance.
Mm-hmm. You were trying to, I think it's like that you got that perspective shift, right? Because you're like, you've never gotten to that place before. You never had that much success. You always maybe thought about it, what it'd be like to have that lifestyle. So you're thinking now, growing up, looking at culture and videos and all these things, people you're around, it's the normal. Going to strip clubs with the boys, rubbing tugs. You just want to, you want to get stress relief. Like as a man, I deal with the lust too. You want to stress relief. You want to get it off.
And also because I didn't want a relationship either, because like I had no time for it anyways. Like I was wearing so many hats in my own business that there's no time to, even think about getting in a relationship. So, I was just thinking, easy come, easy go, right? Like if I'm used to getting sports massages anyways. So what's the difference if I go to a rub and tug? I get a massage and I release my stress. Right? What's the difference if I go to a strip club with my boys? Or it's the same thing. It's like, it's because also the hockey culture is like that, where you don't think it's wrong, and there's a difference. Where I just felt that because once I got that success too, I lost my thought of God. Right? I didn't have that in my mind anymore, because I felt the success was my own. Like all this work I'm putting, all this sweat, all the sweat equity is coming from me. So I forgot about God. And then I just, I started making that like almost like a lifestyle of like, this is what I do for a living. I release shirts, I go play hockey, and like, I party, I do what I want. I'm in control of my own life.
And how was that lifestyle for you? How long did that kind of go for? Was it a consistent thing? Were you struggling with it, or was it actually fun at the time? Like you justified it living in, like, like we say, when you're away from God, not relationship with Jesus, when we like our sins, stuff feels good. It's like always a good time. Yeah. Like when you said when you first started gambling with the boys, you were gambling, it was always jokes because you were with people. Did you start building other relationships with people that were into the same lifestyle? Were you questioning yourself? Or were you kind of in it at the time?
I think it came, some of like the crowd I was around that that enjoyed going to strip clubs and stuff, like they were successful as well. Like they were doing their own thing. They had their own businesses. So like we all basically felt that, I can speak from my perspective, we felt that like this is just what guys do. Mm-hmm. We can go and enjoy ourselves because we worked hard for it. So I think that I felt that I was justified because like no one else was giving me that money, like I was earning it. But then I started so that went on for like about maybe 6 more months, because I like my releases were still booming too, and I went to Asia, did the pop-ups over there, and like the crowds there were crazy. You make that money over there too. Like what are you gonna do like when you're with couple young guys out in Asia,
single,
like you're gonna be
no time for relationship, like you said. You get into the lustful things, stress relief. It feels good. Like we all know, the struggle of most men, all men, is our testosterone, our attractiveness to the woman, the beautiful woman, and especially like you said, you're grinding so much, working for your own success. No one's gonna tell you what to do. I'm wearing every hat. Like of course I'm gonna go do this. Like what else is there to do, right?
And I didn't have anything that would make me want to stop too. Like my like I had no trauma come to me during that time, and everything felt comfortable. I was just like, I was at a place where release Saturday, play hockey, like obviously grind work, and then whenever I needed stress relief, I would just do what I wanted, Mm-hmm. Go to a strip club or and like it kept going. And
what do you think influenced you more? I think people listening now, we're living in a digital media, social media age. Do you think you grinding on your Instagram, focusing on that 24/7, like I remember you telling me like you'd do like answer every comment. Sometimes you'd wake up to answer comments. Like you were grinding on your Instagram. That was where your business was marketing. Did you think, what was the biggest influence? The people you're around in the physical space around people? Or do you think Instagram was leading you into more of a darker lifestyle? Which do you think was kind of...
So I think both, because I was for sure addicted to Instagram at that time. Like, especially when you're running a business on it, you're like, I would wake up in the middle of my sleep and like think of, fuck, I got to respond to comments. I got to respond to emails. So I was a slave to my phone, right? Like I remember like even having to wake up just because I would think that in my dream, oh, people are commenting and messaging like an order's messed, or, they're complaining about something. And I just always felt that if I wasn't on time into responding to, to my customers, to my followers, that I wasn't doing well. I wasn't doing well enough. So I became a slave to my business, right? And the releases and everything, it just felt like I was a robot. Like I was programmed. Like I was going through a simulation, right? Of just always on my phone promoting this, and that. Or if I'm not, then I'm like, I'm working on packaging or whatever and shipping. But it got to that point where it's like I was so overwhelmed, but because it was just me, I had to turn to other things to release that stress. So go back to your point of like, was it the people around me or was it the social media addiction? I think it was more the social media, because if I didn't have that, there would be no platform to me to access and to talk to these people or to be promoting anything in general. Like if I were to blame other people in my environment for me like having people to do these things with, that'd be a cop out, because I'm responsible for my own actions, right? And I used to just justify everything by just like, I'm a successful entrepreneur. These are the things you do, right?
You put out the nice taglines, what's in culture, what sounds good, to, oh no, this is what they do. This is what a successful entrepreneur does.
I always told myself, like, Aaron, like, I don't smoke, I don't drink. Like, what's so bad about, about going to a strip club or going to a rub and tug? Like, it's like I'm a guy at the end of the day. We have to release our testosterone. And then, that's when you like to justify because I had no God in my equation.
Guess who was in your life, in the equation? When there's no God in your life, when we talk about thoughts.
Evil. Devil.
Aaron, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
You worked for this. What else you gonna do? You can't die with your money. You gotta enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Party hard, right? Like live life to the fullest.
And that's what something came into my mind when you guys referred to that Denzel video in the beginning, and how many people you were trying to have like you. Where Denzel says in the video, everyone wants to be liked, but now it's amplified by social media. Everyone wants to be liked by so many people, and how toxic and draining that is to be amplified at past a human being level, right? You're on your Instagram because I don't want to upset this person. I don't want to upset this customer. I need to get this. I need to do that. I can't. We're now compromising our moral compass, our moral values, things that actually we need to take care of and loving ourselves, so make sure that we're good in the world, so that the culture will give us the validation. And that's what I get from you when you're saying, yeah, I had to do this. I had to make sure doing this because you knew, like, I don't want to go back, or I'm going to be a failure, or like, I got to build this. And I'm around other people who are successful. I got to stay up with it. I got to compete. I got to stay into that mindset. And moving from that, you had that experience, that breaking point, that traumatic experience where God had to teach you something. You can go into that.
Yeah. So right when, it was at a time where I was so confident, right? Like everything I was putting out was settling out. It was like I felt unstoppable. And then one morning I woke up and then my Instagram account was gone. So it was instant trauma. I was like, damn, and I just did a release. So I have so many people that are expecting their stuff, and they might think that, Aaron just deleted his account and took everyone's money. So like so many thoughts were going through my mind. And like anyone who builds their business on Instagram and has a lot of followers, like just picture yourself losing your account. And it wasn't even to me about just the it wasn't even about the followers. It's like that I had I was using it for my business, right? It was something that, like it's different than just losing an account that, you're not generating anything from it, right? Like, I wouldn't give a fuck if I just lost my account today and I didn't have a business on it. I literally, like, of course I'd be pissed, but I wouldn't be like the anxiety I felt, I wouldn't be like depressed and like shocked, like what the fuck's going on. But so when that happened, I was like, right away, I got to make a new account to tell people that.
How long was that? Like when you woke up, you're like, holy shit, my business has just been taken. Like, this is what the heck just happened. I just released something. Like you said, you had already these pressures that we talked about. You're grinding, you're hustling, right? The world wants to make you grind and hustle. Like, was it like an hour Were you just like going crazy? Were you losing your mind for a bit, or did you right away be like, okay, I gotta get another account quick?
Like I was losing my mind for the entire day. The entire day I was nonstop messaging Instagram, like, yo, my account got hacked. Give me back access to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone has experience with that, you know that if you message Instagram, it's automated responses coming back. Like, you know how many people have that issue of trying to get in contact with Instagram saying that my account is hacked, I need access back. Like, you're getting robot replies. So, but that whole day, like, I just felt like it's almost comparable to the time when I told you I lost my first big bet, where you just think it's a dream.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like it was just a dream, like it wasn't even real, But maybe like a couple hours after I lost it, I was like, yo, I got to make the new account because people are going to be thinking I took off with their money. No one knows what's going on. So I made the new account, right? And I posted that, like, this is, my account got hacked. I'm going to be on here for now. All orders are going to get shipped out. Do not worry. Like, just contact me on this. And then, days go by, weeks go by of Instagram not giving me access to that account back. So what did I do? I just I put the same amount of effort I did into my first account on the second one. I was like, okay, all my followers are coming back to this account anyways. I'm still releasing product. It's still selling out. I got to go just as hard as on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I doubled my orders on my second account. Like I still got over 10,000 orders on my second account. And like I was so dedicated and focused into growing that, where like my first account, I didn't even care about it. I was like, whatever, like this is my new account. This is what I'm going to be using to get in contact with people. They can message me, this and that. And then, still went back to the lifestyle. I was still in because I had no reason to stop living the way I was living.
Did it elevate even the ideas and things you wanted to do? Like you wanted to go even harder now? Like you said, you went to that pop-up in Asia. Like did those ideas start coming where like, yo, I'm going to show my face now. I got to do it even more.
Yeah.
So people like will stick with me no matter who takes my account.
I went way harder on the second account because, they losing that first account, like you said, it fueled me to be like, I'm going to get my second account even bigger than my first account. Like
that competitive edge you and I talk about.
Same thing. Yeah.
Fired
it's
up.
the same gambling thing of like, you can't take a loss. You can't even see the loss because, we're so used to winning and wanting that feeling of winning where it's like, you'll do anything to get back.
And did you feel pressures from the people around you when that happened, when your Instagram got hacked and you got back into it? Did you even, like you said, went hard in your business? What were you doing in regards to your lifestyle? Did it get even worse? Did you get, because, you're in your pride, you're in your anger, you're just like, it's all me, Did you get into worse situations, or we talk about lustful situations and stuff like that? You went to dinner with certain people. What were kind of the situations that were happening during that second account?
Yeah, so the second account, because I would say that my, I'd say my anger built up more, where it's like I had to get rid of my frustration, and I had to, because I knew that I'd have to put so much more work into growing the second account, where once I did, and I just felt like, yo, it's the same thing. Like, my releases are still booming. I still have everyone here. So like, yeah, my hard work is paying off again. And it's like, why I wouldn't have to change my lifestyle. So yeah, I went to the pop-up in Asia, and it was crazy over there. So it just, it built up my ego even more, right? Like now I have people in Asia that are all rocking my stuff, that, we're doing sellouts over there.
And were you with God at all in this when that first account got taken? Did you like pray at all to help fix it? Was he in the conversation at all there?
I for sure prayed about it, right? But it wasn't like I didn't have that relationship with God anymore. Like I wasn't as desperate as I was when I called on him to take me out of the gambling addiction, right? Because, I still felt that I could get that account back. So yeah, I probably prayed to God like, please give me that account back. But because I already grew the second one and I was already on it, like it was like, okay, that was just like it was a loss, on to the next.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't take that as a lesson. Like I didn't think that God was trying to tell me anything, because if I did, I wouldn't have went as hard on that second account. I would have cleaned up my lifestyle, right? But yeah, that's the thing about being an entrepreneur, especially when it's just you running stuff. Man, your ego gets very big quick because you know you're responsible for everything, you know, or you think you are, because you don't think God's in the equation, so you think all the success is coming from you.
And who
I'm the
can
face of-
and who can fuck with you, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't
No,
tell me shit, bro.
Exactly.
You can't tell me shit.
And I was like other people were trying to give me advice on like how I should be running things, and I'd be like, dude, like you don't even know like the numbers I'm doing right now. Like you just see it on the surface. Like you yourself, you didn't know like what I was doing till I actually showed you,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And once you see that, you're just like, you're probably thinking, yo, how can one person be responsible for this? I would be thinking that if I never seen it, I'd just be like, that's impossible, you know? But then it just shows you what we're capable of doing when like when God blesses you with a vision like that, and like he knows that you have the work ethic, the passion, all that to carry something out. It's like, that's why if I had God from the start, you know,
Imagine.
just imagine that, like you can take things to create crazier heights than you're capable of doing yourself.
And that's why I still think it's good you did all that. Sometimes you need to go to a obsessive place. Like to know the right balance in life, you need to go to extremes. Like you need to go to a place where you work crazy hours, never sleep, you're grinding. Like you know no one else is doing this. You have to get a bit obsessed to know what's my limit. What's my human potential? What's my limit? And to know that and have that experience is so powerful because now when you look back, you go, now I learned. Because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't know why I need God. I would have no idea. Until sometimes you go into the depths of the darkness of things in life, in culture. You're in deep, clout culture, hype beast, intense culture, doing crazy numbers. And you think, this is what I was working for. Of course, I'm good now.
Exactly.
I was working so hard. This is what I deserve. I did all this work. And even when I got attacked and they took my Instagram account away, I made a new one. I went even harder. Like nobody can stop me. Like I got this, bro. Right? Nobody can fuck with me. And then you said that ego starts building. You just and it's almost like, can you really say you're ever at a peaceful place?
Never. No. The amount of anxiety that I was dealing with, like just waking up in my sleep, of like being a slave to the business, you know. I told you, I couldn't really enjoy, like the fruits of my labor or the money I was making because I was always working. Like when you commit to having a release every Saturday without a team, without employees, like
Your life's already booked.
it's booked.
Yeah.
So it caused me to mess up a lot of relationships with people because the friends that I had and the friends that expected me, to be there, to just like having our normal chill routines, everything changed because I told myself like, yo, I'm focused in on my business, like I had my time to fuck around with the whole betting thing of just, traveling everywhere, like, clubs, like wasting money, just doing whatever I wanted, to now it's like, yo, this is my business. This is what I'm called to do. And I'm not going to waste this opportunity. So people started like looking at me. They probably thought like, yo, he thinks he's better than us, or he's arrogant, he's cocky, when in reality it's like I literally didn't have time for it. I would love to be able to just go back to that routine of always being available to chill with people, to do what I want, to go fly around, to go travel, like just living a carefree lifestyle. But then this thing actually was a full-time commitment, right? And I didn't want to waste this opportunity, so that added the stress, and it didn't bring me peace, because even though I was grinding and getting the success and getting all the followers, this and that, like all the things that people like think success comes with, all of those things, it didn't mean anything to me, because deep down inside, right, I was like, my life, I don't have peace, like I don't have that joy.
What would you tell someone that's maybe that looks up to you, or what would you even tell yourself if you could go back when you're in the midst of it?
I wish I had the relationship I had, like the relationship I have now with God. I wish I had that back then when I was doing it, so right now we're kind of jumping ahead, because you have to remember I had a second trauma, losing my second account. Right, that was when I felt that it's a message from God now, because losing the second account, I was just like, I was devastated. I was like, here we go again.
Was it a long time in between accounts when you lost the first one? You got the second one going. How much time?
7 months.
7 months.
7 months. So, but yeah, between that 7 months, like it was all like I told you, the business grew from my second account, And when I lost the second account, that was when I was like, yo, this is a sign from God. I was like, I'm not living right. Like, I'm not even enjoying what I'm doing. Like, yes, people think I'm successful, and yes, the success is on paper and everything, but I don't have freedom. I don't have peace. I'm a slave in my own thing that I built. And I knew that it was a sign from God telling me, Aaron, slow down. You're doing too much. You know, I'm sprinting the whole time. I'm sprinting for a year, doing all these things, right? Grinding, literally losing sleep, waking up, answering messages, where he just like, Aaron, put the social media away. You know, like, yes, I gave you this vision to take you out of the gambling, and now it's like I blessed you with the success, and now I need you to come back home to me and focus in on the relationship with me. And it was like, and I took that to heart, because I remember the third account, when I was like, okay, I'm just gonna make a third account just so people know, like, you know, I'm still alive, this and that, but I didn't dedicate my life to it again. I told myself, Aaron, I'm not going to rebuild this third account the same way I did for the first and second. You know, I'm just going to chill, and like, I'm just going to focus on my relationship with God, of just getting back into like what I was called to do, which is, you know, to serve and like refine the connection that I had with him when I started this. So he broke me down again, and that's the point I wish I had. I wish I had the relationship I had now with God back then, because I know things. Actually, I can't say things would, because these situations that happen, they need to happen.
They need to. Yep.
You're right. Like, we wouldn't be having this convo if things were like that. And you know, like, you can never have regrets in life. You know, things are written. Like, it's planned in a certain way. We go through trauma in the way God wants us to experience it.
He wants us to be and go in trauma to awaken ourselves. Sometimes it's a spiritual awakening, to be like, dude, wake up. Look at yourself in the mirror. What do you see? What's really going on inside? All these numbers externally are going good, but what's going on inside? And you're right, because sometimes the world and you guys, people listening, will think, God's so bad. How could he do that to you? But when you retrospect and you build a relationship, you see how great he is and what he taught you in those failures, in those dark times with certain people growing the business. And sometimes God uses the devil to teach you something. So a lot of the message I'm getting from you and what's speaking to my heart is God blessed you with an idea, and then you left him out of the equation. You left him at the front door. He was knocking, but you didn't answer. He gave you the blessing, and then you said, I got this, see you later.
It's exactly, yep, that's what happened. And you can tell people like the difference you saw in me from when I had my first two accounts to when I didn't have Instagram anymore. You noticed the difference in me.
I saw God changing you. Like, I actually saw the evolution of how God was changing you. Because I know it in myself when I looked at myself in the mirror, and how I saw so much anger, so much disparity, stress, sadness. And when I first met you, I think that's how you and I connected as well. I think we felt similar to each other. We saw that we had traumas and we were going through similar things, but we were kind to each other. Like, we just met where each other were at. We didn't have like serious expectations. We were in our process, right, going through that trauma. And I could see how you and I, over time, I could see you were more light. You were more present with people. You were more relaxed.
That's the thing I like what you said, present with people. Because before, when I would go out or like interact with people on my phone, like I'd be kind of listening but not really listening, because I'm on my phone working, you know? I'd be in a club. I'd be out for dinner, just not even present in the moment, always on the phone. And it's like I became a slave to the phone, right? But like, even the conversations we had about starting this podcast, it's amazing how, because I went through that trauma, that we're able to do this now, right? Together. Because if I didn't go through those experiences, this podcast wouldn't exist right now. You know, I would still be out there living, like doing whatever I wanted.
And that's why God will push you in that direction, right? There's always blessings, right? If you have that mindset shift from focusing on Christ, you see what God's doing for you. He's not against you. He's doing it for you. And it's for his glory, right? If you're not in that relationship with God, you're just listening to other things, other people, the devil, the thoughts, right? God's going to have to push you, be like, okay, I got to do this to him because I got to get him back. He's falling. He's going away. He's not happy. He doesn't have any loving relationships. He doesn't talk to his friends anymore. He's so focused on his phone. His phone's his best friend. We look in today's time, how many people you see walking on the streets in Toronto. When I was growing my social media, I was falling into it. I look at people, what they were looking at. We weren't talking to each other. Walking on the street in Toronto, looking at their phone. Our phone's becoming our best friend, our place of validation, our place of entertainment. And
That's why I like how Denzel says, okay, if you don't think you're addicted, put it away. Put it away and see how long you can go for without your phone. Like it's
even for myself, I know I probably wouldn't be able to do that right now, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. So many things I want to get done. Growing your own business, like you said, you want to push it out. No one's going to tell you to do it. You have to do it yourself. So I can speak honestly, that would be difficult. I know what it's like growing on Instagram, doing that every single day, answering comments, post, because you're like, I want to build my own thing. But when you do it without God, it doesn't get easier, it gets worse.
You remember that day when you came into breakfast and you told me, you're like, I almost got hacked. Like I got a spam email and they almost took over my account.
Yep.
And that's if you felt like, I remember you were even late that day.
I freaked out.
Yeah, you freaked out.
I freaked out. I messaged you. I'm like, hey man, like Instagram said I had changed my password because of new rules, but it was a fake email, and I gave them my password. I freaked out, whatever. But that's why I was grateful God placed you in my life, because I would have been at a worse place if I didn't have someone to talk to about it, like someone who's also of faith in the Christian community. So I was like, you know what? If I lost it, like Aaron and I could talk about it. He can tell me how to, fix my lifestyle up. That's why we're all in communion. We need relationships with each other. We need connection, because we need not hold each other accountable, but help each other. You know what I mean? Be like, yo, I'm there for you, bro, when you fall. Because we know we're in a broken world. We go through so much trauma in today's time. Everyone's so distracted on their phones. We don't really connect anymore. Want to be there for each other. So I said, I knew when I came to you, I was like, bro, I almost got hacked, but I was like, fuck it. If it happened, it's happened for God's glory. Like God wanted me to, get out of that world.
And when I didn't have Instagram, it was the most peace I've ever had in my life.
So go into that. Go into what was that like when you lost your second account and you realized, I'm not going to even focus on this anymore. I'm almost tired of doing it.
Yeah. So then that's when, I really, I started having the conversations with God more frequently. I was praying way more now, because that's when I decided, I started going to church again. I remember that same weekend that I lost the second account, I went to church that Sunday, and I hadn't been to church in like forever, so long. But because like the feeling I felt from God was so deep, where it's like I knew that the change has to happen here. It has to start with the routine, of going to church and actually praying and changing my life for not just for myself, but for God, because I know that like I've been living for myself for how long, right? Through the betting, through this, and it's like at some point you just have to understand that you're not in control. So I had to give up the control, and then just not having to always be on Instagram and having to respond to people and having just the feeling of a burden of like, if you're not there, shit doesn't get done. So that peace, it just made me a lot more humble. It was very humbling, because I didn't feel the need of having to look at certain people or having to, even if you don't, I realize that even if you don't have a business on Instagram, right? Like let's say you're just a bystander who you just all you do is your page is just consume. It's just looking at other people. It's looking at like different shit that like people are putting out, and you don't have a purpose on your platform, right? You have no purpose around your Instagram because you're not really promoting yourself. You're not promoting your business. You're just a bystander, right? And I realized that because I didn't have Instagram, I realized how many people are actually like that, right? Where all they're doing is just scrolling and consuming. And then I just realized that, like if I'm coming back to my if I have Instagram again, the purpose I want to use it for is for not my purpose, is for God's purpose, because I want people to know that coming from me that had all that success, when there's no God in the equation, when shit hits the fan, you have nobody to go to because you think it's all on you. Or you think it's like you're going to blame other people who are on your team, right? Like you try to, point fingers at people because you don't take ownership. So I didn't want to come back to Instagram and just be a bystander, right? I always need to be pursuing something. And that's when God spoke, like that conversation me and you had about starting this podcast, right? That was God speaking through both of us, knowing that. Because remember when you kept telling me, like, yo, so like, what are you going to do with your Instagram accounts, right? When you and I had that convo together, right, about starting this podcast, because I was spiritually clear, that's why God allowed this to work. Because if I was still doing what I was doing before and still have my business booming, there wouldn't even be time. Like this wouldn't even be. This couldn't happen. It'd be impossible, you know. So I looked at it as all this free time I have, all this the peace I'm feeling, is God working through me. He's changing me, you know.
Amen.
He's letting me come back to Him and just realize, what's important. So now that when I got my accounts back, right, I have my purpose now. Because I was faithful, if I know for a fact too, if I wasn't faithful to changing my life and faithful to God, I wouldn't even get access to both my accounts back. But God gives things back to you when you're ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm blessed now that because now I look at social media differently. Like 95% of the accounts that I follow they're muted. And it's nothing against people like. I can't be filling my brain with things that I know I need to be avoiding, or the things that they're not meant for me. Like I'm at a place now where it's like my peace comes from my relationship with God and from promoting what we're promoting here to help others. It's serving now. Like I've had the success, where it's like I've experienced it. So now my platform is used to help others and lead them into the right direction. Where it's like, I know that people, I always tell people, I want people to tap into the things that they want to pursue, but having that relationship with God, because I know I would have benefited from it so much, but God needed to use me in this way,
Amen.
He needed to use my platform in this way of serving.
He breaks you to have a breakthrough. He breaks you to have a breakthrough. And when you become saved by Christ, you want to help people because you see what God did in your life. When you live for truth, honesty, like what your process was, you're like, I have to get back with God. I know I have to go to church. I have to read the Word. You see how what you thought your accounts were made for in your business, it was actually for God's setup, for it to be the glory to God. Because everything is for God. Sometimes He has to use the devil to break you for a breakthrough. And that's when you see, you get your accounts back, you see, this is what you wanted me to do the entire time. I might have not have known it, but I know it now because I have a relationship with you. I've been in communication with you, so I know it's true. That's why I know when you and I talked about it outside the arena, I believed in it. I just felt it deeply because I was in my relationship with God, staying away from the world, like you said, I muted accounts, all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to pray on it. And God said, Aaron will let you know when he's ready. That's all I did. I was like, He'll let me know. And then one day you messaged me, and I was like, okay, here we go. We're going to have to go buzzing because I knew this was going to be big. Like, I just knew, right? I prayed on it. You and I focus on our relationship independently with God. And He shows you what He meant you to go through. He sometimes has to take the worst of us. Maybe the people that are almost anti-Christ, right? And that's what makes us the strongest ones to speak for God because we were living the opposite lifestyle.
Yeah, and I needed to go through those experiences so I could talk about it to people who, they may be going through similar struggles as well, or they might be like, they might be looking up to me as like, I want to be like Aaron, I want to do the things he does. And now it's like, I have that relationship with God where it's like, I can tell you like, yes, you can look up to me in these certain ways, but now I have a tool for you. Now I have you have a podcast. You can listen to Culture to Christ, where it can elevate everything you're doing with your life already and the things you want to do. So it's like every experience that we go through in life, we need to take those. Don't take those as L's, man. They're lessons.
Mm-hmm.
They're lessons if you allow them to be lessons, right? Like I can't stress enough that, especially in today's world where we've lost so much of patience, of guidance, of wisdom, like all these values today, it's getting thrown out the door because things are so short-lived. Like what you said, things happen so fast now that there's no process to be enjoyed. There's no struggles to be embraced, right? We all want everything instantly, like right now. The instant gratification, the microwave era of like wanting everything right now, where it's like, yo, God has no time clock, right? There's no shot clock on his watch. And like that's like one of the most powerful things that I was able to take away from just not having Instagram for like, 2 years, 2 to 3 years of just being spiritually clear. Because when you're spiritually clear, now God can work through you. And that's why we have this podcast together.
Amen, man. That's powerful words. I'm feeling that deeply, to be honest. That Denzel clip we played, right? Instagram's a tool, but we use Instagram as a foundation, and it destroys us. Even some Christians, you guys are listening, you use God as a tool, not the answer, not the foundation. Aaron went from making the foundation of his business foundation and his Instagram and his clothing as a foundation, led into destruction, and now he's his God. God is his foundation. And Instagram and his business is a tool for God's glory. Where if we can start to think about how we use social media, all these things for God's glory and what God wants us to do, we don't have anxiety and stress and destruction. We have peace. When you build a relationship with God, it doesn't make life harder. It starts to amplify the peace, the love, the impact you have on the conversations you have with people. This is why we're giving you our testimonies. Aaron's giving you such a strong, powerful testimony in his life that he wouldn't even be able to share unless he knew God had his back. You're with God. God, it doesn't even matter what anyone thinks of you because I'm the almighty power of God. You're serving Instagram, serving your business, you're making tons of money. Like, bro, everyone knows, like, they look up to you. They want to be that successful. Praise God, now they can hear your testimony to know, you know what? I want to do what Aaron does, but I don't need to make that money that fast. Quick money, quick success, clout chasing. Maybe I can do it slower and just let God work.
And also I want to talk about like the routine I was living in, because, we are our habits, right? Like our habits can, uplift us or they can destroy us. I used to go on World Star Hip Hop every day. Every night before I go to bed, I used to go on World Star to watch videos. And, it's so destructive, like doing things like that, or having a Instagram timeline that's filled with like 6 buzz, like all the things that we know that promotes, negativity or like stupid shit that, it's counterproductive, and it's just like junk food for the brain, because our minds are capable of doing so much, but because we constantly fill it with like stupid shit and stuff that doesn't matter, we're eating it up. We're constantly being filled with it, and that brings us to places where it's like, then our brain starts craving like the dumb shit that we're constantly looking at. So it starts with, if you're going to use your social media, you got to start using it more intently and cleaning it up, right? Following accounts that promote the things you want in your life, right? And by the things I'm talking about that promote what you want in your life, I'm not talking about the materialistic shit. Because if you're following everything that's just about materialism, you're going to be sucked in. I'll tell you real fast that you're going to be a slave to those things. When you're constantly double tapping, you're constantly seeing what's being released, what people are promoting, having to buy, feeling the need to consume. You're stuck in the system, And like, I'll tell you firsthand that living that type of life, right? The sickness and the depression will only bring you deeper, because nothing fills you but a relationship with God. That's the only thing that will fill you. Once you have that, everything, you see how meaningless all this other shit is. That's why now today, like, obviously I want my Instagram because I have a purpose with this podcast. But if I lost my social media today, I'll tell you right now, like, I wouldn't care, because I know what it's already like to live without the social media. Like you said, social media is a tool to be used. Don't let it use you. It's the same thing with our minds. Our minds is an instrument, We're spirit first. Mm-hmm. We use our minds. Our minds don't use us.
Yep. The word of God will keep us grounded. You're absolutely right. We're not as careful as we need to be. Like, we know when we eat like shit, we get fat, get sick. We know what we're consuming. We don't think like that with the mind. I always talk about spiritual warfare. Whatever you're ingesting, you start to become and think like, act like, be like. I know what I looked at on Instagram. Like, I know what I was lusting after, different women accounts, right? Fitness babes, whatever. Like, you take it all in. When you live in that spiritual war, like, that's why Aaron and I need God. We want God. We desire him because he takes us away from that and gives us peace. He allows us to speak to you guys wholeheartedly in, like, our genuine selves. Like, we're trying our best to be transparent and vulnerable. And God gives us the strength because we're not concerned about what someone thinks or what they hear about our bad shit. The problem is people hide. Aaron and I hid for a bit. You hid from a bit because you didn't know God. You didn't think there was saving. You didn't think you had a chance. Some of you may be listening and thinking, I'm so ashamed. I have so much shame and guilt. I can't get past this. I can't move on from this. The devil wants you there. He wants you like that because he doesn't want you to have glory. He doesn't want you to have joy and happiness and peace. He wants to keep you in the shame and guilt of your mistakes, of your past sins, to not prosper and maybe go back into something else worse that now culture is promoting more of.
That's when you need it more. The deeper you are in your sin, that's when God wants you even more. Because you and I talked about this before, how because we're so hard on ourselves, we like to judge ourselves. We used to think that maybe it's not the right time to reach out to God because he's seen the stuff that we've done. He's seen what, like, even the lifestyle we're still living now, and he doesn't want any part of us because he's like, you're not ready. But the thing is, like, I like how you said, I think in episode 1 you said God meets you where you're at. You'll never be able to come to God in living a perfect lifestyle because it's impossible to live a perfect lifestyle. So he meets you wherever you're at, and the amount of commitment that you're going to provide is the amount of output you're going to receive back, right?
Amen.
Like the amount of prayer and the amount of he's going to know when you're devoting your life to him, right? He's going to see the things that, like, the decisions that you're changing for yourself, right? The things that you used to do, and when he sees you turning away from it to honor him, he sees all of it. He knows what we're going to do before we even do it. And there's no reasoning and there's no justification you can have for the actions that you do because he gives us freedom of choice. He gives us free will, and we decide what we're going to do with it. So there's no lying to God. That's just putting the cards out on the table. You can't. It's impossible. So by knowing that, you just know that, you pray to God, you give him control of your life, and, you still have the same work ethic that you put into the things that you care about and you love, right? But now you're doing that with the grace of him. And who's going to really stop you?
Nobody, man. No man can stop you when you have eternity, right? Jesus Christ is the truth, the way, and the life. You said you didn't give your time to God. You didn't give your money to God. You gave your life. That's because Jesus gave his life for us. You didn't just give him money to church, give him money to this, giving your time here. You gave your life. Like, you guys listening, you have to give your life and be reborn. Be born again. Because right now, some of you may be listening, you're dead. Like, you're living a life, but you're numb. You're turned off. You're just going through the motions, living in the sin, and you wonder why things aren't getting done. Because you have to give your life to something of truth, of meaning, which is why God knew that, and he sent his only son to make that sacrifice, to live a sinless life, to live the perfect life you think you need to live. And some of you may be fighting with that relationship with God because you still want to be perfect. You're just so squeezed tight that you can't break yourself. You don't want to give up your identity. Give up from the place of lack you always felt like. Listen to Aaron's testimony. Listen to it deeply. How much success he had in the world. He was validated from everything he was doing. Made sense to what you grew up thinking like. Yeah, grow your own business, have your own time, have your own freedom, do what you want. But you see how it still leads to destruction. So really question the people you look up to and say, just because they have a lot of money or they're always on these Forbes magazines, they're always on commercials and TVs, if you got to know them face to face, ask them honestly, how's your life? How's your mental health? Do you have peace? Do you have joy? I'll tell you right now, you're going to find out the truth that it is one big gaslight.
And
Right.
that's why, like, I even I forgot to say in the Steph Curry episode,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, the reason why I respect Steph Curry so much is because one night after, so basically, Golden State Warriors versus San Antonio Spurs. I was at the game with my boys, and we were at the game with Drake. Right after the game, we all go to eat at a Mexican restaurant, and before Steph ate his meal, because I was sitting right across from him, he prayed. He was the only guy there to pray before he ate, and I'll always remember that because he lives that Christian life. He doesn't just talk about it. He lives that lifestyle. Like, that's a part of him. He doesn't care that other people are going to look at him being like, look, this guy's praying, or this is the only guy that actually takes the time to pray. Because not everyone else is praying. There's a big table
Yeah.
there, and he's the only guy praying
stand
before his
out.
meal. And I always remember that because that made me respect him so much. Like, this guy, he lives what he talks about. And it's like, even now, like when you and I eat out in public, like, praying before our meal, like, I'm not scared to do that because it's like, who am I going to be ashamed about? Like, what am I ashamed of doing? It's like, this is something that I believe and I live, and I've always known that God is in control. Now it's just I gave up the control. It took me all those years to finally give up the control to Him, and He's working wonders. Like, we see it firsthand.
Amen. And for you guys listening, you guys have questions, comments, things you're struggling with, comment on the YouTube channel, comment messages to Aaron or I, comment on the Culture to Christ Instagram page. We're here to talk about real shit. We're not here to hide. We're not here to live in the cloud of even Christianity and progressive Christianity and it being like a trending topic. We talk about these different influencing people that have success, but they have God as the foundation. It's not just Aaron and I, it's other people that God works through to inspire others, that inspires us, right? Aaron and I go through this battle 24/7. You become saved, but then the work gets going because now it's like you're going to be saved and have the truth and give your life to Jesus Christ, but then hide it from everybody else. That's why you don't. Christians want to tell everybody about, this is saving my life. I have joy. I have peace. I can go to bed and wake up feeling like, what a great day.
And it doesn't always get easier. I'll tell you that straight up. Like, I'd be lying to you if I said that, oh, I became a Christian, now everything is blessed, like everything is perfect. It's even harder now because now I have to keep myself in check. I have higher standards. Like, I have to be accountable even more. Like, imagine if I'm on here talking about Jesus, talking about Culture to Christ, and I'm out there living crazy. Like, that means everything that I'm talking about has no validity. There's no substance because I'm a hypocrite. So now, like, this podcast, that's why I talk about having something in your life that holds you accountable. So you need that discipline. You can't lack the discipline because it's going to be exploited at the end of the day. I just, like, you talking there reminded me of a story of, like, right now we see Kanye, who's so like, he's putting out his faith to the world, right? Being so bold about it. And I remember that after OVO Fest one year, when I saw him in the Soho House Club, because he was like, he was high on Molly, like doing all kinds of drugs. Like, he looked so depressed because he was sitting on the table and everyone's partying. He's sitting at the table just staring at my shoes. Like, literally, like, the party's going on, he's just staring at my shoes. I was wearing these red APL shoes.
You were probably so fired up at the time, though.
Yeah, because I was
so fired up.
And I was there with the owners who own APL running shoes. They were sitting beside me, and then we're just looking at, like, bro, like, this guy's just been staring at my kicks for the last, like, 5-10 minutes, right? And then finally, we go up to him and talk to him, and, like, we're just saying what up. Like, they introduce, because they already know him from living in LA. They introduced me to him, and then when I said what up to him, he was so drugged out of his mind, where, like, he didn't know what the fuck was going on, but it just showed me how much people can change through God's saving, because he was at a place there where, like, imagine the amount of stress that Kanye West goes through, right? Or any one of those celebrities, like, the amount of things that are thrown at them, the temptation, right? And I just see, like, I always remember how I saw him then and how I see him now, night and day.
God can change you. People don't believe it, but we want to tell you guys that we believe, and you can do it too. You can change. Don't let the world tell you about your failures, remind you what you did wrong. God can take that and use it. I've felt this during this conversation. I feel it, right? Like wholeheartedly, like how much, discipline, effort, but it all feeds you well. It always keeps you good. It's not work that drains you. It's work that uplifts you and keeps you inspired. So just know you're in a bad place. You can change. God can take you from one place to another very quickly. Break you to make a breakthrough.
And he'll test the faith too. That's what I want people to understand. Like even today, me and you, we know we like that. Now, when the devil knows you're working for God, he goes even harder at you. He throws more curveballs, more temptation at you because he wants you back to that sinful nature. So the journey even gets tougher.
It's like now. You told me when you got back on Instagram.
Yeah, even right now, of course. Like that's why I told you I had to mute about 95% of my accounts because I don't want certain things feeding bad parts of my brain, right? I had to unfollow a lot of people too, like because I just know that I know where things can lead, and it's nothing against, because as Christians we have to love everybody, but we can control our environments. That's just me taking responsibility and accountability of like, even now it's like I know what will happen if, let's say if I decided to go to a strip club, I already know where that leads, where that's going to lead me. So I'm not going to go. And I can't go because COVID. So like, I see how God puts that, right? But like,
maybe your leg. He took out one of your knees too, so make sure you couldn't walk there. Made it more difficult, right?
But yeah, it's just like we're not saying to you guys delete your social media today, right? We're saying use it more intently, make those changes, right?
Perspective shift.
And actually, I take that back because some of you guys should give your brain a rest. Like, try it out. We're not saying that delete your account, but try deactivating your account for, a week, a month. See if there's any changes that happen, from doing that. It's all you won't know until you actually do it. And if you know that you can't hit that deactivated mode, that's when you know you're addicted. And anything in life, if you're addicted, it's not good. Anything, whether it's gym, the healthiest things that you're addicted to can also be one of the biggest downfalls.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode. Deep, powerful message from Aaron. You got inside a bit Aaron's world. Deep testimony. We're going to continue to give you guys testimonies of our lives, more traumas coming soon. Leave your questions, guys. You're not the only one going through stuff. We all struggle. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave those comments there. Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a review where need be. We're going to end with the verse of the day. It's Matthew 18 to, what we got here, 23. It's the parable of the sower. I'm not saying that right, but sower explained. That's okay. You'll get it. You guys get the point. Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what has been sown in his heart. This is what was sown along the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures for a while, and when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately he falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word. But the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. As for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it. He indeed bears fruit and yields, in one case 100-fold, in another 60, and in another 30. Thank you guys for listening. Talk soon.